Welcome to the Ryan and Nate's Business Podcast. Come listen to these two blue-collar business guys. Nate, your go-to automotive repairer, and Ryan, your local heating and air contractor, talk about business, how to help you, and hear stories from our local unsung heroes. Community matters to them, and so does a healthy business. Here's Ryan and Nate.
Caroline, welcome to the studio.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple months since we hung out.
Yeah. At least two, I think.
It looks like beer places. I don't know what the questions are, and I don't read them, so I'm sorry. But he does really good job working them up.
I sent you questions.
And that's not to disrespect him. It's just he's so good at what he does, and I'm so good at what I do. Humbly.
I would rather just roll with it. So
Let's roll.
Great.
It's
And
good.
yeah, he's fly by the seat, which is great. So all these beer places are shutting down and everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is? Guinness is gone. What's the next one?
Flying Dog.
Flying Dog, and
is
then
leaving.
Duclaw.
Duclaw.
What? I didn't know about Duclaw.
So Flying Dog and Duclaw were actually acquired. So Flying Dog was acquired by FX Matt. They're located in New York, and I forget the brewery, but I think they're based in New Jersey. Acquired Duclaw. And I can't obviously speak for like their breweries because I don't work there or know the ins and outs.
But there's not like some like weird law thing happening.
No, what I know from just the industry is, first off, COVID was not kind to anyone.
Yeah.
But definitely not to those in the food
It's
and
worn
beverage.
down a lot of companies.
Yeah. I mean, restaurants, I know a lot of restaurants, especially where I live, have closed. New ones are opening up. But no, it's a struggle. The food and bev hurt. And fortunately, I think some things are kind of coming back. But yeah, that definitely was the case for the craft beer industry. Beer is down. When you look at the market share for beer across the states, beer is down. And seltzers, RTDs, things like that.
Way up. Is it a seltzer line?
The cocktails.
Cocktails
are doing pretty good so far. They just, when did we re-release them? I think it was early May.
How long do you let something go and then you say, oh, it's not working, and you cut it? Or you say, oh, it is working, or how do you do that?
We just keep an eye on a few things. If it's a new product, the first year is probably going to be its best year.
Okay.
Because it's new, it's exciting, people want to try it, everyone wants to try what's new. But then it's like that second year, right? It's always easy to get the first person, but to get that repeat purchase is
Which
the
we talked
challenging one.
about in the...
Yeah, so we keep an eye on, obviously, our sales. We keep an eye on velocity. So we have data that we can access to see, like, okay, this six-pack, has been on the shelf. How quickly is it going off the shelf?
I love that word, velocity.
Yeah. So we keep an eye on, like...
business. What's the velocity of your business?
Velociraptor.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's just a
And
great
we
word.
do that, and then, I don't know, maybe... I don't think there's, like, a time frame of, like, okay, if it doesn't sell well in year 3, then, like,
Right.
we're nixing it. It just kind of depends.
You spend a lot of money to get a product off the ground, right?
Yeah, it's a...
I was sick as
process.
a dog, by the way. I was so sick.
Did you tell her while we were there?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh, when you came to the brewery,
we tried to
you-
keep
you
it
weren't
from
feeling well?
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of talking. I went back and listened. I was like, that's probably the least amount of talking I've ever done on a podcast.
And I'm sitting here watching these samples of beer come and going, I know that Ryan has
just down to half a thing of Mucinex.
Oh,
yes, and no breakfast. I know Ryan didn't have any breakfast, so
Yeah,
I couldn't tell. So you
Yeah.
like...
you did great. You did great.
Oh, I know. I had to soup it up together, boy.
I was like, we got to wrap this thing up after we have these samples because I don't know what. I normally don't know what
I'm pretty
Ryan
sure I
is
fell
about
asleep.
to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's part of the fun, but I was like, I really don't know what's going to happen next.
The mix of cough syrup and alcohol.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Right?
Yeah.
We should can
Alcohol,
that.
that's, I'm pretty sure it's illegal.
But you said beer is down. That's
Yeah,
weird
yeah,
to
so
me.
it's-
What's going on? Do you have a sense?
I think when you look at, again, with COVID and then just, again, across the country, we're not the only state where restaurants and people aren't going out as much, right? I think we're starting to see that more. And I also think with that and also just the competition with, again, seltzers, there's consumer
Do you guys
changes.
have seltzers in the making or no?
We have one seltzer that we've been testing.
Okay. So
The
it's
base
already
of
out.
it, the base of it, and then we can do different flavors of it. So it's at our tap room right
okay.
now. Come to our tap room, try
Cool.
our seltzer. So yeah, we're dabbling in some seltzers. The cool thing about our tap room and that 15 barrel, which I think I showed you guys while you were there, is we can do a lot of cool test stuff. So we have a few things.
How
testing.
expensive is it? If you're allowed to say that, I don't know.
To brew a batch of beer.
A test batch.
thing is,
Depends
like,
on the beer.
It really depends. There's, beers that have like fruit in them. Like back in April, we did, it was called Buried Treasure. It was an imperial fruit ale and it had blueberry, strawberry, black currant, and something else. Some puree.
You just like go to the grocery store and like buy a bunch of berries. How's that work?
No, we'll order them. We have vendors for everything.
You have a berry vendor?
Yeah, we have a lot of vendors.
A berry vendor.
I wanna
Say it
believe
3
it.
times, Nate. Berry vendor.
No, I'm not going to try to do that.
But fruit's expensive.
But
so
I do
like
want to
that,
imagine
yeah.
someone at your place being like, all right, go to Costco and get some berries.
Yeah. Or like we've done some stuff with
Yeah,
orange.
who's the intern? What's his name or her name? Go to Costco.
Yeah.
Get some
Sorry.
berries.
But we want some Old
Good
Bay in
call.
here too, because it's Baltimore. Like,
Right,
you know,
right.
yeah,
There's some,
yeah.
we source where we can.
Yeah.
So sometimes it could be the grocery store, but yeah.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
That's what I think
Hops
is
are
fun.
expensive, and hops are in
Yeah.
every single beer. You
Right.
know, obviously IPAs have more hops. So yeah, the cost can kind of vary.
When you
Based on what
put
you're
something
making.
out, it's new, it's fresh, it's exciting. A lot of people try it. Do you usually make your money back from the production of trying it and then put it into the marketing team, the design team, and the creative team?
Mm-hmm.
And all. There's a lot of money that probably takes to get a new beer on the shelf.
I can't speak more about the money, but the process, what we try to do is with our 15 barrel, we want to test it first because our brewing team likes to, perfect the recipe, and we can do that on the 15 barrel. Then we'll put it on tap in our tap room. And we just really gauge, like, the people who come to our tap room, do they like it? Are we happy with this quality? So that's kind of the first step. And then if it's well received, sometimes we'll take kegs of it to, like, other events. So the Maryland Craft Beer Festival was about a month ago. I took a keg of our BPM, which is our blueberry pomegranate sour, which was one of our test beers this year. Like, it's a hit. People love it, and people loved it at that festival. It was the first keg to kick, and we took it to a couple other events too. So it's like we try to gauge that feedback first before we even really make a decision. Like, okay,
So the festivals and the stuff like that is really important
Yeah.
to you guys.
Yeah.
Can you sell beer at the kiosk in the mall? Just an idea.
I've never.
this guy's an idea guy that
I
just
love
like
it. I've
ooze
never
out of him.
explored that.
It does. It gets inappropriate sometimes. Like people are like, "Stop giving me unsolicited advice," and I'm like, "I'm sorry."
Are you talking about like in the mall, like the center thing?
Hey man,
I'm
there's
like
an
thinking,
idea.
yeah.
There's
Okay.
an idea. What about carnivals?
Do they
Bye-bye.
exist? Oh,
Yeah.
State Fair.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I
Where's the
missed out
carnival?
on going to the carnival yesterday, and I was really upset because I really wanted to ride the zipper and didn't get to do it.
Where was the carnival?
I don't know. I think it was in Annapolis.
Oh, okay.
You're getting on me about mountain biking. I think that's like one of the most risky things you can do is get
What,
on
go
one
on
of
the
those
zipper?
rides at a
That's never
carnival
serviced.
that's never serviced that travels the country. I think it's way more dangerous than what I do.
You're probably right. I haven't been on the zipper in a long time, and a long time ago I didn't weigh this much, so I thought about it in my head. I was like, I can just see. Do you know what the zipper is?
I mean,
Is it the thing that goes kind of just
I know
in a
what a
circle?
zipper is.
It goes this way, and then you're in a cart that goes this way.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that just sounds.
Okay, and you
But
want to add
nauseous.
beer to this? Like, where are
You
we going
throw
with
up
this?
on it regardless, so who cares if you have a beer? But it's nothing stopping you from, like, like a bathroom lock latch,
Right?
like the ones we have in our bathroom.
yeah.
It's a little bit thicker than like a bedroom door latch.
That's what's keeping you safe?
That's the only thing keeping you from,
Yeah, this sounds very safe.
catapulting 30 feet into like some 7th grader's ice cream.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It just hit me. I have a story to tie all this together with heavy seas and pirates. This is going to be amazing. It was
What do
my
you got?
favorite things to do at amusement park is to get on the pirate ship ride.
Oh yeah,
okay.
I liked that
Arg.
one. Just go back and
but
forth.
my
Yeah.
special favorite thing to do,
The special favorite thing.
is I would lock eyes with someone across. Just find some random person across from the pirate ship, and then I would just make this face like I was gonna blow
Oh,
chunks
dude, you should have just
Oh my
stared at
gosh.
him.
while I was at the top, right? And just lock, and you see it like they would acknowledge that I'm looking
Yeah.
at them, and then all of a sudden their face would be going, "No."
Yeah, because you know that has happened.
Oh, it's definitely happened. That is just
I
my own
remember
little
being
thing
at
that I
the
love to do.
carnival, and I was trying to impress a girl, and I could not hit the thing or whatever. And I said, "Hey, man, I'll give you $20. Just give me the biggest teddy bear you got. Deal.
There
Here's
you
$20.
go.
Give me."
Because
it.
otherwise, it
$20
would have
you
cost
ever
you
spent.
at least 50.
Yeah, it would have. I was already balls deep in my unathleticism.
Okay, so you can see what it is.
I love it.
It hasn't
I
changed
love
since
it.
2 months.
Yeah,
so just,
yeah.
But this is
This is not
on Mucinex.
Non-Mucinex Ryan.
This
This
is
is
not.
great.
I can get through this. I can get through this. Oh, there's beer. I can get through
I think
this.
we're like 15 minutes in this. I don't even think we've like mentioned the fact that this is Caroline Sisson, the daughter of Hough Sisson. 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 I said it the wrong way. Even.
I thought
That's
when you
okay.
said session,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you meant this was the podcast. I thought that was an interesting way to
Yeah.
say it.
Heavy
but I was-
Seas Brewery. This is what we're talking about.
Is there a Sisson brew? Is it what? Is that German?
No. What is Sisson? We're a mix of things.
Oh, Sisson English.
English, Welsh, maybe a
Yep.
little French.
Yep.
I should really do one of those. Like,
All the good alcohol
DNA
lineage.
I don't
tests.
trust them. You know.
I'm just curious.
It's like,
I would
put
like
some
to.
spit in a
I
thing,
would like
right?
to do it and then get something back. Like,
yeah. I need you to take my blood. Is the only way I'm trusting it. And then it's like, how do you know based off my DNA? You know, do you have spit of a Native American? Like
that's
how
what I
does
mean.
that
I want to
work?
hear if there's something in, like, I don't know, I'm Australian, part Australian, or
Right.
something
Yeah,
where
I haven't done it.
Yeah.
had no idea. That'd be kind of cool
Yeah,
to
like,
find
oh,
out.
there's some Dundee in there.
Something. But
Dundee.
Sisson, I think,
Sisson.
is like English.
I even pronounced it wrong. This
Oh,
is
you're
great.
good.
It's great.
Do you know if is it Sagamore,
Yep.
Rye,
Sagamore.
Sagamore? Are they going anywhere?
I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't heard anything.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Heavy Seas, by my count, is number 1 in Baltimore now, or Maryland
I
now.
think by default we can say that now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the largest.
Does one of these buttons say woohoo?
Dun, dun, dun.
You just did it. You just did it, dude. I don't even know what you're doing.
Touch the board.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have touched the board.
I'll stop touching things. Last time I touched something, we lost an entire podcast.
That's what he was saying.
Just keep talking. You're good.
Yeah, he's going to make sure. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Number 1 by default. I'll take it.
Yeah. So
It's
we'll
better than getting a trophy for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, going back to your initial question, it's kind of weird. I mean, especially because those announcements sort of came back to back to back. So,
You're
you
like,
know,
are we missing something here?
yeah, but we can just focus on what we're doing.
Right.
And we know, yeah, it's a challenging time right now for beer. I'm like optimistic. I know we have some pretty exciting, cool things in the works. And the fact that we can now say that we are Maryland's largest brewery, I mean, that's a huge opportunity that we plan to capitalize on. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I noticed your guys' logo a lot more just going through and like, oh, there's overseas, just like on a lot of liquor stores. It's just fun and cool to see.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
It's exciting right now. So, I've only been back at the brewery since February. So, I was out of it with the whole COVID thing, right? I
Right.
wasn't even a part of it. So, coming back, and we're really strategic right now with every choice that we make because we need to make sure it's the right
Capitalize.
one that's going to get us back to growth. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm back. It's new blood. We're not really new blood, but, you know, I'm optimistic. So, yeah.
And that's what you need because, you know, COVID definitely took a lot of people down because so many people had to put so much more effort in to just maintain what they had going on. That, at least I'm speaking from experience at that point.
Yeah, sure.
I have employees that the ones who really tried to make COVID not exist to everyone else internally and externally are the ones who are now just completely worn out.
Yeah.
And then we are getting more new blood in and stuff like that. And that's fun and exciting to see, but it's interesting to see that cycle happen.
Yeah.
And how can you navigate those tensions and things like that is definitely something I'm going through.
Yeah. Also, I think we live and breathe small business. So, and we love it. In every industry, there's just this constant, the downward slope, the easy road is to just get acquired by bigger companies. And there's this constant temptation to do that. It doesn't mean that if someone did that, it would be like a sellout or a bad thing.
Right.
But just it seems like that in the brewery field, there's just like
It's
when we were
happening.
talking to you guys
Yeah.
before, it's just like acknowledging you guys have been around from the beginning. Your dad was doing this stuff when it wasn't cool.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, everyone else got on board and it became cool. And now the big boys are acquiring the medium and the little guys because it's profitable. And so-
Although some are actually now selling back the rights and the brands.
Okay.
Yeah, to
I
the
did not know
breweries.
that.
I'm forgetting the distributor. But yeah, so again, it just kind of shows
Yeah.
you like
A
how
lot of times that's what PI will do. They'll
Yeah.
come in, they'll buy it, they'll try to fix their things, make their money back, and then in the process, they're just like destroying everything
And they're
because
like,
they're like,
we got to give it back.
oh, here's the problem right here. Everyone needs to work harder.
right.
And then they press the button to work harder, and then everyone leaves. And then you're like, all right, well, the only way to fix it is to hire the owner back and get everyone back on board and get everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
yeah.
Apple.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
They're not small business though, but
No, but it's the same thing.
Same
I
idea.
mean, that's what happens. That's exactly what happens.
But yeah, to your point, the whole
yeah,
AB Miller, large corporations coming in and
yeah.
sweeping up independently owned craft breweries definitely was happening for a while. I think it's slowing down a bit right now, but
How's the
yeah.
tap room doing since the remodel stuff?
Good. We wrapped up construction probably in March. There's still a lot of like decoration stuff to be done. We've been doing it in really small chunks. So I can't remember when you guys came if the bottle cap had been installed yet on the cold box. Was that there?
Is it red?
No, black.
Okay, then no.
So there's some more branding in there. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
trust me.
Renovate and
You heard my ads on the radio?
oh my gosh, yeah, no,
It's expensive.
So we're kind of doing it in phases, but we've done a lot of, I think, really cool events, and we always have new beers releasing off of, again, our 15 barrel. So I'd say like at least every 2 weeks, there's probably a release, if you will. Yeah, so we're definitely like bringing in traffic, which is
Yeah.
great, but I just am so excited for the day when it's like fully furnished, fully decorated, just a really cool space to come and hang out in
You
because
still have the cannons?
we still have the cannons. Did my dad tell you guys the story about
Oh,
the
he
cannons?
he
I couldn't remember.
I think that was the first thing he did. Come look at the cannons. And then since then, I was watching a documentary about pirates. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's what Nate does.
I'm just trying to stay up on things. It has nothing to do with this. But I was just like, pirates, cool.
Idiocracy popped up on Amazon. Anyway, go with
I don't
your
want to
story.
admit that was a movie that I showed you. Anyway, Pirates documentary. Then I was learning about like off the coast of Florida, one of like the biggest, like a whole fleet of Spanish ships were sunk off the coast of Florida in like, I don't know, 18 something.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were pulling and they didn't retrieve all the treasure that was in the ships. So it's like part of pirate lore.
Yeah.
Pirates going to pull it up off the bottom of the ocean. And I'm thinking, well, there was probably some. I was like, what if those cannons that your dad has at the brewery came from that?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I want to believe. Because it was off the coast of Florida, right?
It was somewhere in the Caribbean.
It was Caribbean?
So probably, I think Jamaica.
That's
somewhere.
off the coast of Florida?
Yeah, technically.
True. Technically.
What are Christopher Columbus's 3 boats names?
Dude, this guy just pops off like
The Nina, the Pinta.
And
Santa Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a joke in there? I feel like there's a joke in there somewhere.
well, if you ever watched Step Brothers?
I have not seen Step Brothers.
What? All these stupid movies you've made me.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We have
This is
another.
your podcast, Caroline.
We'll do a whole
should- you
podcast
should go
just
watch
on films.
Oh my gosh.
My wife and I were probably having kids around that time, so like there's a whole group of there's a whole years that I missed of good movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this why you? Anyway. Nate is a wonderful mentor. Respect this guy
Where's this
to the
going?
nines. And he looked to be an upstanding guy in our community. And then I started telling my wife and showing my wife the movies he's showing me.
Yeah.
And every time she's like, my opinion of Nate gets less and less and less. Because she hated the Bullet Train movie.
Oh, I didn't see that. Is that the Brad Pitt
Great
one?
movie, yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't see
Great
that
movie.
one.
And
I'll stand behind that one, but I did show you Idiocracy.
Idiocracy didn't work out too well either.
Yeah, it's not funny. It's not funny since the political decisions that our country
It's
has made.
scary to
since
watch
then.
that movie because it's kind of relevant at this point.
Yeah, it's not funny anymore.
The president of the United States is a WWE wrestler in that movie.
Oh, gosh.
And they run out of food because they think Gatorade's so great. And they just water the food with Gatorade and then it doesn't grow. Anyway, it's a stupid movie.
It's very stupid.
Back to Caroline's podcast.
This is great.
How are you feeling? We asked your dad what are the next steps with Heavy Seas. And,
Yeah.
And he alluded to, it didn't seem like he went to sell to a big one.
Yeah.
That he said he'd sell to a small one. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if there's like small private equities or whatever, but how do you feel about that?
At the end of the day, I would love to see Heavy Seas just continue and continue for generations. Maybe I'll have kids one day. If they want to join the family business, I mean, that would be pretty cool. But I would love to see that. Like, Heavy Seas remain true to its roots. I think my dad and I, like, share that. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's his company. It was his idea and his vision, and he started it. So
Yeah.
he wants to see it continue. I want to see it continue. As of now, no plans of selling. We like that we're the local largest craft beer in Maryland.
Yeah.
I think just being realistic as a business person, I'm going to make assumptions that if an offer came our way, he would be foolish not to at least review
Look at
it, maybe consider it. But when he started Heavy Seas, like he's got investors, and stakeholders that are involved in this company,
Yeah,
and he
that.
really feels like he's got a fiduciary responsibility to take care of them. So I mean, he's almost 70 years old, and he works harder, more hours than some people half of his age. So I know he's looking to try and figure out what his exit strategy, his retirement plans are. But yeah, I don't think selling is what we want by any means.
Yeah, what you just described earlier about like you're having experimental batches and being able to test them at festivals and test them in the tap room. Like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I just can't imagine. Like, part of your ability to stay on the edge and be rebellious, like that's part of the pirate way. Yeah. It has to be part of staying local and being not, you probably can't pivot as fast when you're part of a bigger company.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it'd be really cool if you guys were able to stay.
And I think to what you just said is really interesting, and something that I think a lot of breweries experience is trends, right? You know, sours were super popular a couple years ago. I mean, they're still popular now, but like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, it was like, oh my gosh, sours, like everywhere you went, there's just sours on the shelves. Right now, hazy IPAs are really popular. It's really interesting because there's like the spectrum of beer drinkers. There's, craft beer drinkers who the higher the ABV, the better. And then more recently, this emerging trend, or maybe it's not just a trend, maybe it's going to last for a while, this non-alcoholic movement, right? There's so many
mocktails.
Yeah, there's Athletic Brewing, if you've heard of them. They exclusively make NA beers. That has kind of taken off too. So we actually don't have the equipment like physically at our location to be able to make non-alcoholics. So, it's just really interesting. There's people who don't want alcohol in their beer, and then there's people who are the higher the better, right? Complete opposite. But it's, there's trends, right? So again, I don't think people realize how much time it takes to come up with a new product, especially if you want to can it or package it, because cans, for example, there's different ways you can can a beer. There's painted cans, which are literally like you pick it up, think of like Coke or Pepsi, where it's literally a painted can. Then there's canning like PSLs, which is a label that basically gets pressure sensorized around an aluminum can. PSLs. So if you wanted to get a painted can, that's a 5-month lead time to order the cans. So if we wanted to produce something and release it next January, I need to order the cans now. Yeah. By the time my cans arrive, that trend could be gone.
Right.
So it's just really interesting how...
That's expensive gut decisions that you have to make.
Totally.
So what does your gut say about the non-alcoholic? Is it a trend or is it a thing it's going to stay?
It's a trend, in my opinion.
So I think it's gonna be here for a while. I actually personally have been at a lot of events lately where people come up to our tent and say, "Do you have anything non-alcoholic?" And we don't. So, in those situations, kind of...
Do you laugh at them and tell them to go to the next table?
No. But that's something, we're working on a few different projects right now, or testing a few things. Seltzers, I mentioned. Obviously, our crafted cocktails are pretty new. Hop water is kind of a thing now, too.
What's that?
It's water that has, like, hop oil infused in it.
Okay.
So it tastes like hops. I know Union Craft Beer has a hop water. Yeah, it's like, again, another option.
Is it like a little bit like a LaCroix, like has a little bit of flavor in it?
Kind of.
Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, like a hint of hop flavoring in your water.
So it tastes like...
It's like lemon water, but for alcoholics.
Like you had a bathtub full of water and you put one hop in it?
Oh, I have no idea.
And then it's about like that much flavor of hop.
Yeah, just a hint. Like a hint of hops.
Yeah.
In your water. I think we can make that at our brewery, so like that could be an option. Yeah, so it's like just we're trying to diversify, like what are our offerings that really can appease anyone, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's good that you're asking those kind of questions because I think that transcends all business. It's like when are you like following trends and when are you like
you
at
really
what
have
point
to assess it.
Yeah. At what point are you just following things around? When are you setting, like as an artist, because there's art to making beer. And so when as an artist you're saying, no, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, then there's other people doing other things. And then when are you missing out on a market that's about to happen? It's like, it's all really, really good questions. And a lot of it has to do with gut decisions.
Yeah. And we've actually been, I don't know if criticized is the right word, but we are an older brewery, especially in this state. There's a lot of, younger breweries that are out there. So there have been times where we've put out a beer and we're late to the game, right? Like so many other breweries have put out a sour before we did, right? So we were late to the game. And we kind of just try to...
Does that matter, you think, or...?
We don't let it bother us. I definitely don't think it bothers us because we will, when we do put out something...
It'd be good.
It's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I like to tell people it's not that we're late to the game. We're just taking our time to make sure it's perfect.
It's just right.
I think that's
it's just right.
I think that's appreciated. You know, I come from the automotive realm, and I've noticed that about certain companies. Toyota stands out to me. They're ones that are late to the game, but they typically do it right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so there's just a ton of people that jump on board of a new technology, and then you find all the recalls that happen, all the engineering. Like once it gets out into the world, a couple years in, couple tens of thousands of miles into the life of the vehicle, then there's like problems, things I didn't anticipate. And then Toyota's always like lagging behind. And then when they do it, it's like better.
Yeah.
And it's appreciated. And it goes, it's a long game of like their reputation.
Yeah, long game. I appreciate that analogy because I think it kind of was going back to what I was saying is we're comfortable with taking our time because we want to do it just right. Because we're looking for that first beer. No, we want that second, that third, that fourth, that fifth, sixth, seventh beer.
So it's got to be
we got to make sure it's good.
Yeah. That's really, really good.
And all this stuff takes time. And people.
Yeah.
Takes so much time with people.
That was fascinating just talking to you guys about also like the brewers that you guys have.
And they're like guys from Catonsville. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be people that there's a voice to it, like an artist, right? And it's not just someone that can teach a task to and pull them off the street.
Oh, totally.
You got to like
I think that's
seek
another
these
thing
people out.
that people, unless you're somewhat familiar with beer, there is chemistry, there is art and creativity, like there's science all behind brewing beer.
Well, have you ever had a batch of beer go bad?
Like a lot.
Like when we're...
like
Start cursing at you?
So
Morally?
we've experienced quality issues when we're brewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the thing too. So beer has 4 main ingredients, right? Water, hops, malt, and yeast. Yeast is a microbi organism. Is that the right?
Sure.
We'll go with that. Yeah.
Say it with confidence. We'll believe you.
Yes.
Organism. I think, where's my brewmaster when I need him? Yeah, like it's a living cell thing.
Right. And something could go wrong.
Something can go wrong. The yeast's job is to eat the sugar from the malt and convert it into CO2 and alcohol. But no, like, again, think about like cooking, right? Like there's a science and exact measurements with cooking, and you add too much of baking powder, baking soda, or whatever into it, and your whole batch of cookies or bread is messed up. So, I mean, it's kind of a
same thing.
Similar concept of, you know, things can go wrong with the quality.
How often does
beer.
that happen?
Not often. We're pretty legit.
I mean, they couldn't be successful
happened,
as they are if they
Yeah.
had massive amounts of.
And
Where does it go? I imagine it doesn't go in the Patapsco River if something bad happens.
I do not know the answer to that.
All right, we'll cut that part out.
Talking about.
I tried brewing twice because I thought, I can make really good beer. And in my mind, I was like, I'm Mr. DIY. The guy makes fun of me all the time for it. Like every other DIY project, I'll save money if I brew myself. One, no, you don't save any money when you brew yourself. And
Did
then
you put
2,
your
like if you
messed
make
up beer in
one
the
mistake,
Patapsco?
it's all a mess.
Yeah.
Did you put your messed up beer in the Patapsco, Nate? When you were mountain biking? You just had it in your backpack and said, you know what?
Yep.
Here we go, Mother Nature.
Yep. No, actually what I did with my bad batch of beer was I just fed it to my friends when they came over. Hey man, try
that happens too.
Try this beer that I made, right? And they're like, Nate, it tastes great.
Wow.
I think the other thing that's really important for us, rooted in our values, is, again, quality. We've talked about that a little bit. I mean, we have a lab on site at our brewery. I don't know if we toured and showed you guys that.
I think that was a secret lab. You didn't show us that.
We didn't show you the secret lab. How dare us? But yeah, I mean, we are actually in the process of looking and trying to rehire a new quality manager. But like, yeah, we have a dedicated...
You hear that, Gil?
We have a lab dedicated...
Does he go around with a spoon and just go... like do a little sip thing?
He's like looking under a microscope.
Cool.
I mean, yeah, it's a whole thing of just making sure that the chemistry of everything is just right.
Yeah. How do you find that on a resume? I mean, are
That
you
doesn't
looking for
sound
like a
an
chemist's degree?
Indeed,
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it's challenging. Definitely requires a specific skill set. The good thing about this industry, because I will say, I generally think this is a pretty friendly industry. Of course, we're all...
HVAC's like 50-50. Like, some of us are like super friendly, and others are like, if I see you in the part house, dog, we're going down.
Well, you guys, I mean, it's regular to have like collaborations with other breweries.
We have actually a collab planned for end of July or early August with a brewery in Rhode Island. So yeah, I mean, but we've done other collabs too. We've done collabs with other local breweries. We just did an event in our tap room this past weekend called Hopped, which was kind of like a play on the Food Network show Chopped.
Okay.
So it was us, Guinness, Key Brewing, and Crooked Crab. And the 4 breweries, we all had the same 4 mystery ingredients, right? And then we each brewed our own batch of beer using those ingredients, and then we released them this past weekend. So, yeah, I mean,
does that
like,
happen in the tap room?
We did it in our tap room, yeah.
Okay.
We released it in our tap room.
Whose was your favorite?
I was moving this weekend.
Dude,
which is the best time to bring a bunch of beer to friends.
You seen that video where the guy's like, hey, you know, there was a drug deal that happened 3 doors down from you. And he's like, oh, is that camera on? He's like, I didn't see nothing. Matter of fact, I'm blind in my left eye and 43% blind in this eye.
Right. No, I didn't get to try them all, unfortunately. I tried ours, but no, I missed all the events because I was moving. But we do a lot of, like, collabs. So, yeah, it is a generally, like, friendly industry in the sense of, like, I think we can all appreciate each other's craft. Yeah. Right? Like, if I get served a really, really good IPA from another brewery, like, I'm going to say this is a really good beer. We all are still in business, but, yeah, it's a pretty friendly industry.
Do you think Guinness is selling their version at their place? And are you selling your version at your place?
Of our hopped beers you're talking about? So how we organized it was each brewery had like their own release party. So Guinness's was on Wednesday of last week. Crooked Crab's was Thursday. Keys was Fridays. Ours was Saturday. But you could try all of them.
Okay.
At least Crooked Crab and Keys and ours. And then you could vote for your favorite. So we had like a little voting survey available for people to...
Did you say whose was whose?
What do you mean? Like on this...
When you voted, it was like beer 1, 2, 3. Beer
we
1
had the
is...
names. Yeah, we had the breweries and the...
I didn't know like how mysterious.
People could literally buy a flight, so you could try a little sample of each of the 4.
Cool.
Very cool.
To taste and pick your favorite.
I love the tap room. I haven't been back over there since we recorded.
Come back.
But I think I'm going Friday. I think I'm going with a friend for happy hour on Friday.
Cool.
Thanks for the invite, buddy.
Not this friend.
I'll show up.
But it's a community place, and I love that about it. It's a community place. It's a place to hang out.
Yeah, now we're talking about it so much. I'm like, what are you doing later?
yeah, let's go meet Heavy Seas.
What time do you guys open on Wednesday?
3.
3 o'clock, huh?
Wednesdays through Fridays, 3 to 10. Saturdays, 12 to 10. Sundays, 12 to 8. And we may be exploring opening up for a 6th day, too. We're trying to figure that out. I think we do a pretty good job of, again, having events or releases, or just we've made it a space where the community can come. And
so you guys are only open 5 days a week?
Right now.
Okay, you're thinking about 6?
Possibly.
Would it ever go to 7?
It might.
I have a ton of ideas for you guys. You don't want to know them because it's just a little ridiculous, but I let him know.
Yeah.
But I'm an ideas guy. That's all I do.
Okay.
Yeah, they're constantly coming.
If you shoot me an idea and we end up doing it, I will give credit where credit is due.
Okay. Yes, let's do it.
Well, my ideas are expensive.
Fair enough.
My ideas
sometimes
are not
you don't
going out
know.
of my bank account.
Yeah.
Sometimes like ideas can also spark other ideas, you know?
Yep. And have an idea pool.
One thing I love about working with Ryan is that he doesn't always know the steps that it's going to take to execute his idea. That's never like his first thought. Sometimes my first thought is like, oh, well, we can't do that because of this, and this. He starts with the big idea, and then it's like, well, maybe you end up determining that it's not worth doing, or it's too many steps, or it's too much money. But at least the idea is out on the table. So
yeah, I looked into buying another HVAC company, and they're called Cozy Heating Cooling, and I was like, oh, instead of doing Baby Bear, we can do Cozy Bear. And everyone was like, I hate that idea. And I was like, all right, well, thank you. I literally bought the domain name. I was ready to go.
You're ready to go.
And then we had a meeting, and everyone told me it sucked. And I was like, all right, well, I spent $11 for nothing. so it was $11.99 for 2 domains.
That could have been 2 beers,
Yeah.
a beer and a half. I don't know.
Yeah, so
Depending on which beer you got.
I have ideas. They flop. It's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
us too. I mean, I think that's everyone. But it's good to have ideas.
Yeah.
I wanted to pivot just a little bit before we finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I didn't ask you any of the questions that I sent you. we just kind of have
just are
been just
spitballing,
talking, and this has been
no, it's
great. But just from like the family business aspect, like you grew up in this thing. Your dad, I feel like we got into it a little bit in our conversation with your dad, but what was it like growing up? Heavy Seas. Were you oblivious to what your dad was doing, or just being a kid?
Oh, that's interesting.
So when Clipper City, which is the name of our company, and it still is the name of our company, but our brand is Heavy Seas Beer. So that's our flagship brand. He started Clipper City / Heavy Seas in 1995, and I was 5 years old. So like most of my childhood, like early childhood, I had no idea. I just knew Dad was going to work and coming home at the end of the
making drinks that I'm not allowed to drink.
Right. So, those are memories that are blurred. But yeah, I think once I got into high school, it was like, oh, my dad works and has a brewery. Like, that's kind of cool. But I was under 21, so again, it still wasn't really clicking of like, this is actually really cool.
Did friends hit you up and
as
like,
the daughter of the largest brand, did you, what my question is, was he like, yeah, you can have a beer at 16 or anything, or is he religious at 21?
No, he was actually like, this is his business too. So like, it's really important that we're not,
So he was strict on 21, because my wife's family, they're really great people, all of them. And she was able to have like a Twisted Tea or something at like 16.
No, not when I was in high school. Once I got to college and I turned 21, definitely my junior and senior of college, I remember because, I was 21, my friends were turning 21, and it was like, your dad has a brewery? You've never brought us any like beer? And that's, I think, the moment, like my early 20s where it kind of clicked of like, okay, this is kind of cool. Plus, it's college. Like,
you roll up with just like stereo-sized packs of Heavy Seas, and everyone's like, she's the best thing ever.
And
like,
I think it was like Christmas break or something. I remember after break, and I was returning to school like for that semester, I did bring some beer, and because also in college, you're drinking the cheapest, whatever you can afford. So this is like blows
the other beer known in Maryland that will remain unnamed. The cheap stuff that you buy in 24 packs.
Right. And I went to school in Pennsylvania, so I mean, like Yingling was there. There was actually a bar down the street from my school. It was I think Monday nights $1 Yinglings, and like we would go there for $1 Yinglings. So like I was bringing this like high quality craft beer, and again, I graduated in 2012. So like the craft beer movement is coming. It's coming. So it was definitely like, I think at that point where I really discovered like, okay, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I graduated, and I feel like I was like every other kid graduating school of like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what is adulthood? I have no idea. And I was a business marketing major. I was very blessed that my dad gave me a job, which I interviewed and stuff for, but I was basically like our marketing assistant. And so I started at Heavy Seas in 2012. At that point, I had no idea if I was going to stay there. I just, again, had just graduated, so I needed and wanted a job. And then I was at Heavy Seas from 2012 to 2019 within our marketing department this whole time. But for the majority of it, I was really like spearheading our events. So we have gone through a lot of renovations over our facility over the last couple decades. And there was a time where like we didn't have that bottling line or that canning line. So we actually had more floor space. And we used to do like big festivals at our brewery. We had like an oyster fest and a crab fest one time, a taco fest. Like most of them were food and beer pairing events, but like all you can sample, all you can eat. And we would get like 1,000 to 1,200 people for each of those events. So I was like in charge of overseeing them, planning them, executing them, working them. And then just in 2019, so right before COVID, I had been there for a while and kind of still like in my early to mid 20s of like, okay, I've been doing this for a while, but again, is this really what I want to be doing? I have no idea because this is all I've known. And that's when I kind of made a decision to feel like I should go get experience elsewhere.
There's value in that, for sure.
And Dad was very supportive. So I went and I worked at an advertising agency for about 4 years. It was probably my last year while I was there. So in 2022 of kind of getting that itch of like, I'm ready for another change. Like, I want something more. And I just started thinking back and having conversations with my dad about heavy seas. And I was really pretty amped up about coming back because I thought that the experience that I had just gained at my marketing agency would translate really well into what we need at the brewery. So yeah, I'm back and it's been a lot of fun. But, you know, things have obviously changed in 4 years. So the first like couple months has been like, okay, what the hell? What are we making now? Like, I know we still make loose cannon, but like, what else are we making? We have cocktails now? What? Really just kind of trying to wrap my head around all of it.
It takes a while to get acclimated.
It does. Even for a brand that I've known for so long, that's really been part of my life for so long. I mean, any new job or new role, there's that adjustment, you know, period.
Yeah. Nate wants to, you know, it's going to pass down from his dad to Nate, and then Nate's going to pass down from him to at least one of his boys, right?
Yep.
But for me personally, like, I've built a small empire. It's good. It's a great thing going on, and I want to make it a large empire, but I don't think I ever want my kids involved. And for me, the reason why is because I'm always having to think about what has to get done, what has to be done, and what has not gotten done. And there's never an off switch. And that quality of life, I think I have the ability to make a lot of money, but I think I'd rather try really hard while the kids are young than stop and just either sell it and go or be in a position where I don't ever really have to be there.
Right.
My kid really wanted to do it, I guess, but I'd rather see him do something else. And my dad told me the exact same thing.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my dad said, what do you want to do when you grow up? I was 8. I said, I want to do what you do. And he said, no, you don't. It didn't take much convincing. I don't know why. But then he said, you want to pick a trade, heating and air, electrical, or plumbing. And I said, which one makes the most money? And he said, HVAC. I said, that's the one I'll do. Because to me, they're all the same.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah, the surprise is you don't make any damn money when you're in business for yourself. But it's just such a struggle. It's
interesting because you can relate to with working for a family business.
Yeah.
I get that question all the time.
It's challenging, but it's also really cool in some ways.
Yeah, I would agree. It definitely has its challenging moments, but very rewarding. I'm more grateful now and have more of a sense of pride now than I did when I was at Heavy Seas prior.
Yep.
I have more experience now. Like, there's a whole lot of reasons for why this is different than there before. I think, fortunately, I had similar conversations with my dad after college and growing up of like, okay, Caroline, what do you want to do? And I don't know. And there were moments throughout, you know, the last decade of him asking me like, what do you want to do? He was very supportive when I made the decision to leave the first time because he would always tell me like, if you would have come to me and said you wanted to stay, I would have told you still need to go somewhere else because it is important to get other experience because, you know, when you work for one place, and this is not discrediting anyone who that's what they've done or that's their choice. My personal opinion is if I would have stayed and not had gone and just taken a different break for a couple years and got out of the industry, I mean, I would have had tunnel vision.
The best coach on the football field is the fans.
Right.
Because the coach is right there in front, and he has tunnel vision.
Right.
And everyone's like, why is he making these moves? Well, he's right there, and that's the only thing
You're saying that because you're the guy that yells at the TV during the football game, and you think you're so much smarter.
No, I'm not going to get down that rabbit hole. We got to wrap this up.
Yes, I'll say you used the word choice. I think it's really good. I think kids either taking over family business or kids just falling into the trade or the business that their parents came from was the default years and years and years ago. 100 years ago was pretty much just a default thing. Right. You did. Now we have a choice. And I think it's really, really good to give your kids a choice.
Agree.
And having good conversations. So I'm really glad your dad did that where he held his hands open, didn't say, hey, Caroline, you have to do this or you can't do that. And that he's been supportive. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure with you guys.
I have no idea how we're going to edit this thing. Maybe we won't. We'll just throw it out there. We love having guests that we get along with really, really well and have a lot of fun with. So that's the goal.
Always
business and fun.
Definitely.
Put it together.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Awesome.